I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to overcome the fear of making the wrong choice and become the fearless person that I believe we're all meant to be. See, when you're afraid of making the wrong choice and you don't know what to do, and every moment is like this sort of this crippling fear of I don't know where I'm going, I don't believe that's normal. I don't think it's normal in society right now to live in that way. That used to be my norm, but that's not normal in my opinion, in the sense that you don't have to be in this crippling anxiety and fear 24/7 worrying about if you're making the right or wrong choice. I'm going to share with you in this video how I was able to overcome this, how you can do the same thing in your life with the intention of helping you to find the peace in your life that you deserve. And this is going to help you to get powerful results in your powerful results in your life as well. And I think this is going to be very powerful for you, so I encourage you to listen to the very end of this video. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell, because I do actually post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, the only way to do so is by booking in a single session. You can book that by hitting the link that's in the description box of this video. It's also going to be in the comments of this video as well. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is an interesting perspective that has totally shifted my life personally, which is the truth that actually the freedom that you desire, the freedom that you really want in your life, because we all want to feel free, right? It's like, I want to feel free. I want to feel connected. It's like you just want to feel free and you want to be who you really are. You want to have that sense of freedom. But I found that that sense of freedom and that sense of, feeling totally free comes from powerful and committed decisions. See, if you don't have a structure in your life that you're committed to, something that you're like, just some sort of direction. I'm not necessarily saying to be overly disciplined or overly committed in a way that doesn't feel right to you, but I'm gonna have to record a whole video on that, because oftentimes your feelings can completely deceive you. You could not feel like doing something because that's the past talking. That's the past version of you talking. That's the chaos. That's the I don't know what to do with my life talking, right? But then, and that's no judgment, by the way, because these versions of me still come up time to time, but I know how to navigate these versions of myself much more powerfully than I used to. Now, the key is to understand that in my experience, that when we have a sense of direction, some sense of direction, it's like, in some sense, where you're going, the direction that you're headed in, then you start to feel like, you start to feel really free, because there's a sense of deep peace that comes when you know the direction that you're headed in. You don't always have to know how it's going to work out. You don't always have to know the exact step-by-step process always, although sometimes you can. It all depends on the moment. But when you know where you're going, there's a deep freedom that comes with this. And so I found that true freedom comes from making committed choices. If you can become a really good decision maker and a really powerful type of person that makes powerful and committed choices very easily, not that you're not going to be logical and weigh out the pros and the cons of what to do, but just to understand that if you know how to make committed choices under pressure and not believe in the old versions of who you are and decide to make choices anyways, you will understand that freedom comes in your life as a result of that. Okay, now the second thing that I want to share with you in this video is that being scared of making wrong choices, and this has been huge for me. Like, I can't tell you how big this has been for me. Like, I used to have crippling anxiety and fear of making the wrong choice. I don't know which direction to go in. What do I do? What do I do here? And I want to share with you that, and this happened in every single area of my life: health, business, relationships, right? And I want to share with you something that I realized that totally shifted my life completely and brought me insane peace and helped me to get better results in a more effortless way, without with feeling like I'm trying less. Like, I'm still putting in the work. I'm still like taking the action, but it feels like I'm trying less. It feels like in my body, it feels like there's less cortisol. It feels much easier, and it feels like more effortless, but I'm still getting more results, and I'm seemingly more committed. And I am committed. I am more committed, but it just feels more effortless. That's why I'm sharing this with you. So the second thing that I want to share with you in this video is that being scared of making wrong choices always leads to chaos and inconsistency in your life. That's been my experience, at least, okay? I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but in my experience personally, and you might relate to this a lot. If not, then that's fine. You can just click off the video or whatever, but you know, or take what resonates and drop the rest, right? But for me personally, when I used to be afraid of, and if this comes up time to time, I start to notice it, then I don't feed it energy anymore, because it's just a waste of my time. I don't have the time, energy to waste to be scared of making the wrong choice. If there's too much, if it's adding stress to my life, just make a choice, and you know, I'll share with you how I navigate that in a second here. But I want you to understand that being scared of making the wrong choices in your life always leads to chaos. Think about it. When you don't know what choice to make and you're really scared and it's like, I don't know, think about like what that does to your body and how much chaos that leads to. For me personally, when I was scared to make the wrong choices, just so much chaos and inconsistency and resistance would come as a result of that. So I'm not saying to be illogical. I'm going to share with you what I mean by that in a second here. But if you can start to make more powerful choices and realize that when you just make a choice, right? And again, I know the fear that comes up, right? I understand the fear. I used to have these fears and I still have them come up time to time. But I noticed that when I get into an energy of not managing my internal state, and overly attaching to the 3D world because I need to make sure that I make the right choice, that the 3D world is, everything's in place, right? There's time and place for that. If you believe you have to really sit there and weigh out the pros and the cons and be logical and control the 3D, if you believe that, then honor that, right? I'm not saying to dishonor that or to not honor what you feel if you believe you have to really think about a choice and do that. But it's like at some point you get lost in overly obsessing, and I'm going to share with you what I mean in a second here. So I'm going to share with you in a second here how to bring in that logic. I'm not saying to be illogical and make choices boldly without bringing in logic and just being illogical, making random choices in your life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, and I'm going to share with you in a moment here how to be logical about this too. And it's actually more logical than anything in my opinion, but it can seem illogical when I explain it first in the beginning, right? It seems like, oh, it's very logical. It's like, no, it's the most logical thing you can do, but I'm going to get to that in a second here. But just think about it. Think about it like this. When you're really scared of, when you're in that energy of like, I don't know if making the right choice, think about what kind of timelines and what kind of, and the realities that you live into when you're in that energy. Just notice it. Like, don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for anything in any of my videos. Observe in your own experience that when you're in an energy for a long enough period of time of, I don't know what choice to make, just notice what that does to your experience. Notice what happens to the actual experience in your life, right? Don't be stuck in fantasy land. See what actually happens when you're in an energy of being scared of making wrong choices. In my experience, it always leads to chaos and inconsistency and random events that seemingly are working against your favor. And at some point, it's like you got to take responsibility. It's like you're not a good decision maker, perhaps. I had to take responsibility for it. It's like, gosh, I'm so bad at making choices, and I'm so scared of making the wrong choice that I end up making horrible choices. This was my experience. That would be completely out of alignment with my true vision, right? I would always be scared to make the wrong choice, and it became this self-fulfilling prophecy where I was accepting offers that I didn't have any intention of being there, doing things that just don't resonate for me, and all these types of things where I'm just living like kind of somebody else's life in a way. But when I decided to just make choices committedly, then all of that started to fade away. It's like, oh, I feel like I can breathe again. I feel like I can be myself again. So oftentimes that sense of freedom comes when you decide to be a powerful decision maker. So the third and final thing that I want to share with you in this video is to be logical. Right? I'm not saying to not be logical. I'm not saying to not, weigh out the pros and the cons, of a situation and to see what is the right choice and to see what resonates for you and all these things. I'm not saying not to do that, but I'm just saying don't get obsessed if you're overly obsessed to the point where you're just like, you're hyper analyzing what's the right choice, that's what you want to do in that space, is just make a choice and surrender. That's just my advice. Okay, do what resonates for you, because the biggest objection I get is like, well, what if I don't know? What if I make the wrong choice? How do I know if this? But it's like, okay, like that's fine. That's all fine, right? All of these concerns are fine and they're valid and they make sense. They do make sense. But they make sense, but oftentimes they're not actually grounded in reality. They're grounded in some fantasy, and then it leads you to make very stupid choices. And again, I'm not attacking anybody. This has been just I'm speaking to my past self here, right? Because I can only teach you as far as I've gone in my journey, right? I'm not here to pretend to know something that I don't know, right? I'm not here to teach something or explain something that I have no confidence teaching in. I'm only confident in this area because I've overcome this fear of making stupid choices that were grounded in, which I didn't realize at the time, a fear of making the wrong choice. It's so ridiculous. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So my invitation and what I recommend, if you have this fear like I used to have, and again, I'm not saying that I've totally overcome this. Again, those old versions in me still exist, and I can always tap into that if I believe in those patterns, those behaviors, right? It all exists. But if I notice that, I know how to navigate it now much more effectively than I used to. That's just the honest truth, right? I'm not saying that I've overcome it completely and I never have anxiety, never have fear. No, it comes up. But again, I know how to navigate it now. And here's what I do. So I'm not saying to not be logical, but I'm just saying don't be obsessed. Don't be overly obsessed about making the right choice. It's like, because when you're overly obsessed, that's when you can lead down to really bad decisions in your life. And then, of course, maybe even blame people for it. Blame the outside world for it, right? And that's the trap. That's the trap most people fall into. So be logical, right? Be logical, but just don't get obsessed. If you're noticing, this is my invitation, if you're getting obsessed, again, I know it's repetitive, but this can be really helpful if you're in a space where you're confused and fragmented and don't know what to do with your life, and maybe you don't know what choices to make, and maybe you've been trying to figure out what choice to make and be committed for so many years now or something. If that's you, if this sounds like you, be logical. Maybe you write a list, figure out what resonates for you. But if you're noticing that you're stagnated and you're stuck in your life, just commit and surrender. Be logical, don't be stupid about it, but just commit and surrender. And then, so what does this do? I'm going to conclude this video by sharing what this does. Is this gives you feedback and information. This helps you to figure out truly what resonates for you and what doesn't resonate. Because in the bigger picture, and I can already understand that people are going to object. It's like they're going to think this is illogical to do. But what I'm sharing with you is that in the bigger picture, you can't really make a wrong choice. And I already know what people are going to say. It's like, oh, but in the bigger picture, you can't make a choice, but you still have to be logical and all these things. But I understand. But the same people that usually have this objection of like, you still got to be logical and in the bigger, it's like they're the ones that are never making committed choices, right? The same people that give the rebuttal of, but what about this? What about that? What about this? And what about this? And then what about, those are the same people that don't make changes in their life. And I'm just speaking from my past self. So and I'm truly sharing this from a place of compassion because in the biggest picture, again, be logical. If you just make a choice and commit, you'll figure out if it resonates for you. That's the best thing you can do. And if you just commit, you'll probably have that sense of freedom, even if it's not what's meant for you, even if it's something that you don't really want to do. You'll still feel a lot better because you're moving forward and you're doing something different. You're actually changing. You're actually making a choice now. And if you don't like it, then that's fine. You just get feedback and you figure it out and you make another committed choice. And then you may get more feedback and then you make another committed choice. And then you get more feedback and then say, oh, but maybe you need to be a little bit more logical here. Okay, be logical, but don't get too upset and then make a choice, right? Just the key here is not to be illogical and fragmented and chaotic. It's the opposite. What I'm sharing here is the opposite of chaotic and fragmented and irrational choices. I'm talking about pure logic here. But also to account for how you feel, of course. Pure logic and your emotions. It's about holistic living, right? And what this does is this removes the compulsive behavior, the compulsive energy, right? That's what we're trying to avoid here. Not necessarily avoid, because then it can sound like you're running away from something, but actually oftentimes not making a choice is running away from moving forward and making the changes in your life that your heart actually wants. That's when people get really hung up with the old reality, right? So again, if you're noticing you're getting obsessed, I encourage you to commit and surrender and just notice. Don't take my word for it. Notice how much peace this brings in your life. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, the only way to do so right now is by booking in a single session. You can do so by hitting the link that's in the description box of this video. It's also going to be in the comments of this video as well. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.